Hello and welcome to Aging Matters. This is a show that is provided by and sponsored by the Berks County Area Agency on Aging. My name is Ann Barlet and I'm the Public Advocacy and Outreach Manager for the agency. Our show today is Do's and Don'ts for Fire Safety in Your Home. And my guest with us today is Lieutenant John Naylor. He is with the Department of Fire and Rescue, out of the Office of the Fire Marshal for the City of Reading. Welcome, John. Thank you. Or Lieutenant, I guess I should say. Sorry, Lieutenant
It's
Naylor.
okay, but thank you for having me.
I think this is really an important subject that I should have probably been covering every year, but I'm thinking that the show is being seen in February, and it's very cold, very windy, chilly, snowy, you name it, we get it, and for not just February, but multiple months. And I think we start to, I'm very concerned because the older adult, in the winter and in that weather condition, you want to kind of probably stay in your home and not venture forward. And part of that is we then stay sedentary and we're not active. And so with that, I think we start to also feel a little cold. It's cold outside, maybe our windows, there's a draft here and there, we're cold. And so we try and do things that keep us warm, which also might put us in an unsafe situation or harmful situation. So I thought we'd spend the time today talking about, in a sense, do's and don'ts. What should we do? What shouldn't we do in terms of staying safe with regards to fires and staying safe from fires. So we have a couple of areas,
Okay.
and I thought that we would start with kind of the smoke alarm. We know about, we should have them. But I think that when I looked up a statistic, and if you don't mind, I'd like to share what I found that I believe goes with some of the statistics that you have and spoke about. Now, they call this smoke detectors and smoke alarms, so we'll talk about what's the difference. But this one, it's a 2023 statistic, and it said smoke detectors save thousands of lives each year, and that you cut your risk of dying in a home fire in half if you have a working smoke alarm.
Yes, because
That's simple.
Yes, because smoke alarms, that's going to be your first line of defense, so to speak. I mean, that's going to be your early warning that something's going on. Let you know it's time to get out.
So tell me, smoke alarm, smoke detector, same thing, different thing?
So to the normal person, they're probably the same thing. And it wasn't until I got into the office that I even found out that there was a difference. Smoke alarm, smoke detector, you say them, everybody knows what you're talking about, but technically a smoke detector is a device that you find, it's a solo device, it's in your house. Smoke alarm is a solo device. Smoke detector is part of a fire alarm system that you'll find in commercial buildings.
Oh, okay.
However, you say smoke detector, smoke alarm, everybody knows what you're talking about. So.
Okay, all righty. So let's talk about, clearly it's important to have them, but
Yes.
break it down for us. Tell us about the types that are available. And I'm going to let you roll on this, types. And then where should we put them in our home?
Okay, so there are basically, there's a couple different types. So you have hardwired, interconnected, you'll have standalone systems, standalone smoke detectors. You have combination that would do both smoke and carbon monoxide.
Okay.
So they also have them where they have a battery in them that you change every 6 months or so. They have some that have a 10-year internal battery. And with those, you put them in, you test them. That's all you have to, that's the only maintenance you have to do is just test them to make sure that they work. And we recommend testing every month, usually probably the first of the month. So basically, if you set your calendar, so when you're seeing this show, go check your smoke detectors after the show's over. And we'll just go around, all you do is just press the test button, some of you can press, some of you have to press and hold, but they'll go through a cycle where they beep, and that lets you know that they're still working. Big thing during COVID that the teachers were saying is when everything was on video, you could hear a beep in the background. That beep is the notification to let you know, hey, my battery is low.
Okay.
You should change me out before I go dead, because a dead battery, your system, it's no good. It's not going to work. It's not going to give you any alert. So but they also
And may I add there
Sure.
on that one, that any battery that we've taken out of the smoke detector to put in the kids' toys or other devices that we got at Christmas time, we need to put them back in.
Yeah,
we need to put those
replace.
batteries
Well, actually,
in.
I would just replace them altogether. Actually, for the most part, your smoke detectors are a 9-volt battery.
Okay.
Very few toys anymore use 9-volt batteries, and it's part of the reason why is that people aren't
Nice.
taking them out.
Okay.
The same thing like, oh, the batteries on my remote went dead. Well, we'll go get the batteries out of the
Yeah.
smoke detector. So we don't want that. Yeah. So then you have your interconnected. They will be hardwired with a battery backup. And I get that going into places, and they'll say, oh well, I have it. It's connected.
Right.
Connected through a hard wire. Why do I need to put a battery in it?
Right.
So the battery is your backups. In the event of a power failure, the battery is going to take over powering that device and continue to stand guard, so to speak, over the house to make sure you don't have anything.
Okay.
Smoke detectors go off. There's a lot of times they go off for the wrong reasons, like steam will set them off. Like if you have them too close to a bathroom, the steam from the shower will set them off.
Okay.
Smoke from
A bad cook.
a bad cook. I can
That's what
just
I'm visualizing.
yeah. Well, I can just about not
Yes.
burn water. So, but anyway, so cooking sometimes will set them off. We go. A lot of times we'll go to some of the high rises on a regular basis for cooking, and people will go, oh well, there's all these false alarms where the alarm
Yes.
goes off. It's actually not a false alarm. The alarm is doing what it's supposed to. It detected that there's smoke. It's alerting everybody that there is a problem. Problem is that somebody's a bad cook, but
Yes.
but yeah, so you should treat every alarm as being the real deal, unless you can confirm otherwise. So make sure you have your escape plan and a rendezvous point.
And we'll talk about that
yeah.
specifically. You mentioned, though, about the combination.
Yes, so
the,
they have
the smoke alarm and the carbon monoxide.
Yeah, so they'll have, it's a combination, it'll be smoke and carbon monoxide. Sometimes they call it a kitchen alarm, at least the ones that we see, they'll say kitchen, but they're a combination. So they'll detect both smoke and carbon monoxide or CO. It's a different alert when the CO goes off. Some of them will speak, like the ones I have in my house speak. So when the smoke goes off, it says fire. When the CO goes off, it says carbon monoxide. So, and you can get them.
Or do they beep differently?
They also beep differently.
Okay, all right.
So that way you know. You can get them at like Home Depot, Lowe's, your normal home improvement stores have them. We also, for residents within the city of Reading, if you own and occupy the home, you own and occupy the home you're living in. So you're the person on the deed, you own it, you pay the mortgage. We have a program where we'll come out and we'll install the smoke alarm or smoke detectors, smoke alarms. It's confusing for me too. But we'll install them at no charge.
Oh, terrific.
We'll come out, we'll put them where they need to go. So leading to that
Yes.
is
Where
you
do
want to
we
have one on every floor, at least one on every floor, one in every bedroom. So just because you have one up on the second floor, that doesn't cover the bedrooms. You still need one in every bedroom. And then one, including one in the basement. If you have fossil fuel burning equipment, like a gas or oil heat, gas stove, gas water heater, something like that, you need to have a carbon monoxide detector, a carbon monoxide alarm on every floor as well. You
Wow.
don't need them in the bedroom, you just need one on every floor because it's carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, tasteless, so you won't even know it's there unless you have an alarm. And it will will overtake you over time and you won't even realize it.
Yeah. Let's say somebody has moved into a new home.
Right.
This is there. How do I know if I only have a smoke alarm or I may have a combination or maybe separate? Is there a difference in appearance? So how would I know?
You should
what
be
I
able
have?
to, the way they're mounted on, the base will be mounted onto the ceiling. It's the best place to put them is up on the ceiling. And you can take the alarm and twist it off and pull it out. So if they're hardwired, you're just gonna have the wiring in there, you can disconnect that. And then you look at it, and it'll tell you what it is, it'll tell you when it was manufactured.
Okay.
So
it would say smoke alarm or?
it may say combination, it may say smoke alarms, carbon monoxide,
Okay.
something like that.
So it would be unscrewing that and looking.
Yeah, so you just,
Okay.
it's like a
So
quarter.
while anytime I'm changing my battery monthly or testing it, I can also check it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it also will have the date of manufacturing. So it's not, we say 10 years, the alarm's done.
Oh, okay.
So that's why the ones that have the 10-year battery, at 10 years, the battery starts to go, you toss it, you put a new one in. They're not real expensive, and over a 10-year time frame, it's pennies. So if you think about it.
For
but-
what
yeah,
it's saving and what could
what
happen.
it could save. So just because I bought this and I put it in February of 2023, that doesn't mean it's necessarily good till February 3033.
Yes. Okay.
Because it could be 2 years old already before you even purchased it. And it's 10 years from date of manufacture, not 10 years
Okay.
from installation.
Yes, yes, okay. All righty, so we talked about the types, that we should put one on every floor, where in specific, and checking and testing, and then the 9-volt and checking and testing. Is there a reciprocal, do you know, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, if I don't live in the city, should I best contact, can I contact my own local fire
You can
department and
contact
see
your
if
own
they'll
local.
do the same kind of testing or
You
checking?
can check with your own local fire department or the township, borough, whatever that you live in. I know for Reading, we do it, and we can set that up through the fire marshal's office, actually through
Okay.
the fire chief's office. The secretary will schedule for somebody to come out.
Okay.
And then,
They might as well, they can call.
yeah.
You know, okay. So in staying safe in our home, and that's the key, I think, because it does alert us. But there are some other things that we do and shouldn't do, or do well and should continue to do in our homes. I think heating. My next thought when I talk to seniors and think about being in my home, in addition to that, I want to stay warm, and so we start to think, well, heating and heating products, elements that are there that we use that may or may not be good. Or again, what should we do if we're using it or not use it? So I think of things, I work with folks and they've said things like, well, before I go to bed at night, I have this heated blanket that I can put on my bed to warm it. Or if we're sitting around a lot, we may have a lap blanket that's heated, or if we're not feeling well, or we throw the old heating pad on us to warm us up, or put the heating pad on the bed when we're in the bed to go to sleep at night. So I think some of those, can we talk about some of the do's and don'ts about those products, or what we should do?
I don't know if there's necessarily any do's with it.
Oh, okay.
So I know back in the day, when I was a young kid, my grandmother had a heated blanket, and that was her blanket at night. They've gotten better over the years with safety features that are built into them. I don't recommend having anything that's powered up that's causing heat to be unattended. And sleeping is the same as being unattended.
Okay.
So you have to do your due diligence with them. Be as safe as you can with them. I don't recommend using them.
Okay.
Space heaters. Space heaters, usually if you're having to use a space heater, if there's some kind of problem with your heating system, I would reach out to a licensed professional to have your heating system checked. Because ideally, the way the system's developed or designed, it's to cover the whole house, to keep everybody warm. You shouldn't need anything extra.
A supplement.
A supplement.
But again, sometimes we block off rooms, or we
Right.
shut down our heat thinking we're going to save on a bill.
Right.
And we add then those space heaters or other things like that, thinking that we won't spend as much money.
Right.
But again, as you said, if there's problems with the system, I think you can even call your related company that, whatever, if it's a gas company, you could call them and they might even check and see if there's an issue or problem. So in terms of going back to the heating, so if I want to continue, I think there are some do's in terms of turning it off then when I get into bed,
Right.
pulling the plug as opposed to just turning it off, right? How about I think make sure that it's still workable in terms of the condition. We've been using things forever in our,
Right.
households. So, are the cords frayed, or the pieces coming apart?
It goes back to the same thing with the fire alarm, the smoke alarms. They're good for 10 years and you replace them. So things don't last forever. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. That when you plug it into the outlet, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. That when you plug it into the outlet, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure, like you said, that the cords aren't frayed. So you want to check and to make sure that it stays in there, it doesn't fall out, because then that could be a sign that there's an issue with your outlet, which in turn could cause an electrical fire somewhere down the line. And as much as I love to see everybody, I don't want to see this.
Right, exactly.
At least not on, just not like on that.
In a bad term
In a
of
bad
fire.
term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about, same thing, I think people think that we're safe with an automatic shutoff.
So the safety features they have in like these space heaters now, they have an automatic shut off. It's like a tip over.
Yeah.
So if it falls over, it shuts off. That keeps it from basically a runaway. Ideally, space heaters, if you're going to use one, they should be attended to at the whole time that they're in use. Don't leave them on overnight. While you go to bed, leave them on. Don't leave them on, because you can have an issue. And again, just because it's in the room with you while you're sleeping, it's the same as being
Good to
unattended,
know.
because you're not aware of it.
Yep.
And that goes the same thing for candles, which we can get into a little later.
Go
But yeah, so candles you never want to leave unattended as well, because you should have them in a glass jar. I mean, you think back to the olden days where you have the little candlestick holder and you have a regular candlestick and a live flame up there. There's nothing to protect it. It falls over, it lights something on fire. The candles you get now are all in jars or glasses or something like that. But even then, once they get down so low, that glass can explode and it'll throw hot wax out and cause an issue.
Well, or we snooze, and who knows what happens with that candle, depending on where you've placed it.
Right.
In or on, what you put it on, and what.
So the
where
same
you
thing with the
placed it.
heaters, you want to, and your candles, anything that causes a heating element to it, you want to keep at least 36 inches away from any type of combustibles, 3 feet basically. And it's a good number. I mean, when I go out and do my inspections, it's a 36-inch rule around different things. So around the heating equipment, around the electrical equipment, and that's for access for us, so we need to be able to get to it. But still, you want to keep 36 inches away from any type of combustibles. For example, we were saying about the candle explodes, it lights something off. So you always want to make sure you don't leave candles unattended, you don't leave space heaters unattended.
Here's one other thing, I'm going to switch a little bit. Some people, I'm hoping nobody's doing this anymore, but there were stories of people who would open their oven, turn on their oven, open the door to also add heat to the home.
Yes, so that is very dangerous as well.
But that's a don't, isn't it?
That is a high don't. Don't do that. Because you have, one, it's not very efficient. So, because when the heat comes out of the oven, it starts to dissipate. It's not really warming a whole lot up. So unless you're standing in front of it. And if you're standing in front of an oven, you got other issues going on that you need to take care of. But it's very dangerous.
Yeah. So staying in the kitchen, I talk about kitchen fire, cooking fire safety do's and don'ts again. I found another stat from FEMA, and specifically residential building fires, and the fires in Berks County, it said that there was 61.7% result from cooking and 11.5% of that heating piece. So we just talked about your the best way to not do, all the don'ts of the heating situation, but let's talk a little bit about the kitchen and cooking fire safety.
Sure. So when we were talking earlier, I had found a statistic from 2022. It says estimated 522,500 structure fires happened nationwide, which comes out to 35% of the fires that are reported. 2,910 civilian deaths as a result of those fires, 11,720 injuries as a result of that fire, and then roughly $15 billion of direct property damage. So, and the number one cause, cooking.
Okay.
Heating is number 2.
So quick, tell us about what.
So cooking.
What are the couple of
so
top
you
things?
never want to leave cooking. Never leave cooking unattended. If for some reason you need to leave the house, turn it off. So many times we hear, "Oh, I just had to run to the store for a second," and yes, you're in and out. And then you start talking to somebody. You see your neighbor, and an hour goes by, and the next day you come back, and the fire company's in front of your house because your house is burning down. It happens a lot. Things in the pot will burn off. And then, like, if you have oil, the oil reaches a certain temperature, and then it'll ignite. So then when it ignites, it's now going up into the cabinets, and it's off to the races from there. Boom.
Yeah.
You should use baking soda if you have a grease fire, use baking soda. You never want to put water on there because it's just going to splash it around and cause it to spread. If you have a lid to go over the pot, that's a good way to smother it out. If you have a dry chemical extinguisher, an ABC extinguisher, you can use that, but that's going to make a giant mess.
Yep.
But overall, any type of fire, it is best just to get out of the house. Let us come in and take care of it.
Okay. So let's talk then about thinking about that. I don't want to.
Right.
You know, nobody wants to think that that could potentially happen to us.
Right.
But knowing those things and our habits, let's look at our habits, let's change some of those, let's add those things we talked about, the alarms, check them, test them, you know, be safe with our heaters. Don't be having our space heater here and my newspapers going right next to it, or my books or whatever I'm doing. And I think cords for tripping purposes too, the cooking safety, you know, have the baking soda, the simple products, maybe a fire extinguisher. You said it makes a big mess, but it's still available, but not to the extent that it's so out of hand, shouldn't try to fight it yourself at that point. So let's talk about, should that happen, I want to be prepared for that emergency. Talk about what should I think about, write down, do as a fire escape plan.
So when we were all little kids and you have October's Fire Prevention Week, or as some people say Fire Prevention Month, I say Fire Prevention Day. Every day is Fire Prevention Day. But the one thing we always talk about is have your escape plan 2 ways out. And then once we grow up, we kind of forget about it. It's not, we don't hear about it anymore until we have kids, and then they bring it home because the fire department came to school.
Yes.
And then they get to that certain age where they don't talk about it anymore, and it gets forgotten about. The concept is still very it's still very relevant to today, no matter what your age is. And the older you are, it's even more important because you sometimes you'll have mobility issues.
Yes, exactly.
So it may take you longer to get out of the house. So that's why when you hear that smoke alarm go off, treat it as a real thing, unless you can confirm that it's steam from the shower. But always treat everything as being real. So with your
in my plan, I have to have two exits.
So you should have 2 exits out of every room.
Okay.
Where I see that being an issue is probably a bathroom. Usually you don't have a window in a bathroom. All your bedrooms, they have to have a window, and then you have the door to come through the house. And the same thing in basements that's now required. Anything new construction will have an escape window so that you can get out the window. Not saying you need to go change things over, but if you do have a newer home that has a basement that's usable space, they'll have a escape window that's in it. But you always want to have 2 ways out. Try to have 2 ways out. In the event you do have a fire, first thing you want to do is you want to check your door. See if it's warm, hot, or cold. If it's cold, then you know you're good, you can go through. But if you encounter smoke, you don't want to go through the smoke. The smoke will overtake you, and people don't die from the fire, they die from smoke inhalation. So if your door is warm or hot, if it's warm, it means it's in the area. If it's hot, it's right outside your door, which is another thing. When you go to sleep at night, close your door. If you don't do that, get into that habit. I've seen studies where fire likes to go into the path of least resistance. So it's coming down the hallway, an open door, I'll go in here. If the door is closed, it'll go past the door. It'll burn the outside of the door, but it'll give you that much more time. It'll give you a little more time. Most of us, we have a cell phone with us at our bed, or you may have a house phone, but usually you'll have a phone somewhere really close to you. When you call in, let the dispatcher know that you're trapped, that you're stuck in the 2nd floor, and where you're at. So that way when the fire department comes, we've already gotten that information, and we're going to head there first, because life safety is our primary goal. We can replace everything in your house. We can't replace you.
You,
There is only one of you. You're one of a kind.
And so I have my thoughts and my plan, and I shut my door, and I know the windows and how maybe I will jump and whatever. Is there something that I should have ready? Now, I want to clarify, we only have a minute or two left, but call if I suspect that I have a time, call 911 if I'm trapped, as you
Right.
said, but get out first.
Get out first.
Take that with me. What else should I be? Should I be taking something else when I'm getting out, or throwing it out first? You know, I'm not talking all my family photos, but
Right.
I'm thinking the cell phone, only because if I'm outside, then I
Only, so if your phone is next to you,
Yeah.
grab it as you
But
get
don't
out.
run downstairs.
Don't go running
Don't go
for
through
it.
the smoke down
don't-
the steps.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
go looking for your phone.
Yes.
Don't go into another room to get your phone.
Yep.
Get out.
Out.
Because
move. Get out. Okay.
somebody's going to have a phone.
Okay.
Your neighbor's going to have a phone. Somebody will have a phone. Get to a safe spot, then call 911.
Okay.
Don't call from inside unless you're trapped
Yes.
inside.
Okay. All righty. So in the last minute that we have, we talked a lot. We've covered a lot in this short period of time. Is there anything you'd like to make sure that the audience, the viewers, particularly older adults, is there one thing you want to just say, emphasize, remember?
Just remember everything we talked about today. Make sure you have working smoke detectors. If you need help checking them, have a family member or your neighbor come over and help check the smoke detectors to make sure they're good, or if they're beeping, to change the batteries. Make sure you have an escape plan. Don't leave candles, heaters, and anything cooking unattended. Turn your pot handles in. Small kids, they like to grab things. We don't want that. We don't want anybody getting burned. You want to keep things safe. Pets are going to do what they want to do. Try to keep it safe for them. That's the other thing. In the event that there is a fire, don't ever go back into the house once you're out. You're out, you stay out until the fire department says it's okay to go back in. Pets have a way of finding their way out. For the most part, they will get out on their own. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time and all the information you shared with us today. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
coming here,
having
Lieutenant
me.
Naylor. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to give us a call here at the Berks County Area Agency on Aging. That number again is 610-478-6500. And thanks for tuning in to Aging Matters.